Hello and welcome to Tech Hub. I am Kenneth Akan. NCC launches device management system to track all mobile phones in Nigeria. Nigerian bank sacked 49 employees over fraud between April and June 2024. And for our big story today, we'll be discussing the rising adoption of artificial intelligence in Nigerian finance industry. We'll be looking at benefits, challenges, and the road ahead. We'll begin by looking at our trending stories today. The Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, has deployed a device management system, NCC DMS, to register and regulate all mobile phones accessing communication networks across the country. The system, a part of the NCC's new Type Approval Business Rule 2024, mandates all mobile network operators, MNOs, in Nigeria to connect their equipment to the DMS platform. The NCC says this initiative aims to improve control over mobile devices, enhancing security and ensuring compliance with regulatory standards. The DMS will serve as a central equipment identity register, CEIR, tracking all mobile devices by collecting their international mobile equipment identity, that's IMEI number, and synchronizing them with international IMEI databases. The centralized approach will allow the NCC to monitor devices across all network operators and ensure that only approved compliant devices are permitted on Nigeria's communication networks. Devices that are not registered through the system will be blacklisted, making them unusable within the country. The NCC noted that blacklisting stolen or illegal phones will render them useless and reduce incidents of phone theft and snatching, as this would make the devices lose their value, essentially. In addition to tracking devices, the NCC DMS will act as a regulatory tool requiring all MNOs to synchronize their equipment identity registers and all of that. So what this means in short form is the NCC wants to control the devices used in Nigerian telecommunications space. So for the viewer out there watching and wondering, what does this mean for me? What it means is if you ever lose your phone, maybe you were robbed or it was snatched or you lost it, you can actually just report your IMEI number to your network provider, and once that number is tracked, the phone will be rendered useless automatically. So it's a very good one. It will help us in our national security, it will help us fight crime, because all phone numbers now will be attached to the IMEI number on the particular phone it is being used. All right, so our next trending story, 49 employees have been sacked from their jobs in the Nigerian banks due to their involvement in fraudulent activities between April and June this year. The Financial Institutions Training Center, FITC, revealed this in its Q2 2024 Fraud and Forgeries report, which was recently released. This indicates a 40% increase in the number of employees whose appointments were terminated when compared to 35 cases in Q1. This is a trend that we have to look at closely. Some employees within the banking system, maybe rightly or wrongly, knowingly or unknowingly, have become the weakest link and were involved in some level of fraud, and the banks have decided to let them go. So the total number in the whole of January till March was 35 employees across different banks in Nigeria. But in Q2, between April, May, June, we've seen 42 employees, so it increased. According to the report, 58 bank workers were involved in 11,532 cases. 58, watch this number again, 58 workers were involved in 11,532 cases of fraud reported within this period in review. This shows a 23% increase compared with 47 insider involvement reported in Q1. The FITC report further reveals that outsiders' involvement in fraud cases increased by 5%. So those cases that were from the outside, maybe phishing attempts, cyber attack on the outside, were just around 5%. And this increased from about 10,397 to 10,938 so far between January and June. While the bank's losses to financial fraud in the second quarter of the year jumped by over 900% to 42.6 billion naira compared to 468 million recorded in Q1. This is alarming, and that's why we are looking at different ways to curb the excesses of fraud in the banks. Now, without adding Q1 records, the amount lost in Q2 alone surpassed the total amount of money lost in the whole of 2023. That is something that we need to focus our attention. I'll be discussing a little bit about that on the show today. The analysis of the FITC for last year showed that a total of 9.4 billion naira was lost the whole of 2023. And those frauds were committed, via mobile and all of those things. We're hoping that these issues are looked at and we want them easily addressed. We know that the FITC is doing its best, the CBN is also doing its best, but the banks need to step up their game to fight fraud, not just from the outside, but also from the inside, because they always say you are strong as your weakest link. Artificial intelligence has emerged as a transformative force, switching up the operations and services of financial institutions worldwide. This is by a tremendous feat. Sam Altman, the co-founder and CEO of OpenAI, visited Lagos, Nigeria in May 2023 as part of a global tour to promote the adoption of artificial intelligence and also to understand the diverse perspectives, particularly in our own climate here in Nigeria. Today, in the Nigerian financial sector, AI is playing a very important role in promoting security, helping to fight fraud, early detection, helping to expand access to financial service, and of course, driving innovation. I have a guest with me in the studio, Philip Adeakombi, a multifaceted professional in product development, data analysis, and artificial intelligence. Philip, it's good to have you on the show
today.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
You're a hard man to catch, and it's good to have you today. Now, you are an expert when it comes to AI product development, and you're looking at the story we have right now in regards to how AI can help our banking system. Let's start by exploring the different areas AI has influenced transformative growth. What would you say are those areas?
Okay, thank you very much, Ken. I would say first, let me explain what AI is, because I tend to speak with people a lot and they have different views of what AI is. So artificial intelligence is basically the system where computer systems are trained. I would say it's a process where computer systems are trained to understand data, right? Gets knowledge from data and become intelligent. So I like to explain it or break it down further to say almost every AI system stems from the data that is used to train them. So you have data and the process called machine learning, then artificial intelligence. So a system learns from data to become artificially intelligent, right? So that's basically a short way to describe AI. So in terms of some of the ways AI has been really contributing to the society, especially in the financial services, you would have intelligence product offerings, right? So organizations or financial services have data about you. You've onboarded on their platforms. They have data about you. They are able to understand who you are, right? Based on the data they have about you, they are going to also use that to profile intelligence services to you. Also, like I said, AI helps to understand what I like to say, customer preferences for targeted marketing. So typically, you would get a different marketing message for you, which would be different from what I would get, because they've understood what interests, what our interests are, right? So other examples would include better credit scoring systems, right? For creditworthiness for people that want to take loans, right? So they're able to use AI to understand what your performance has been, what your financial records or performance has been over the years, and they are now able to use that to profile loan services to you. So those are some, and I'm happy to talk about more as we go on.
Now, this is a very nice way to introduce any layman into what artificial intelligence is. So it's a body of knowledge. A computer is trained on a data set, and it begins to learn from that to replicate and all of that.
In a nutshell.
Now, what are the opportunities that exist for us using artificial intelligence in our financial industry?
Okay. Yes, some of the opportunities are, let me talk about different aspects of the financial services we have. So for example, in insurance, you could use AI for claims processing, right? People would come to say they want to lay claim to something that has happened, they need insurance to cover it, right? So artificial intelligence can look through such claims and find fraudulent ones, right? Because they've seen human beings have identified fraudulent claims before, right? So, and that's data, right? So artificial intelligence systems can also use that knowledge, right, to find faults in claims. So insurance companies don't need to put so much effort into always going through millions or thousands or hundreds of thousands of records of claims, right? Also in risk assessment, before you want to give somebody an insurance cover, right, you have to understand what the risks are. So artificial intelligence also would help you because humanly speaking, you've gone through the different records for you to assess risk. So artificial intelligence systems too can understand that process, applies to the customers you have or the, I would say, insurance claims or coverings you want to give out, then they help also to mention into another aspect or venture into another aspect of financial services. We have lending and credit, right? Like I said, credit scoring for creditworthiness. So you have people that are very, we say financial penetration is really low, right? So people don't have access to resources, right? And I know this because I've been involved in certain programs, for example, at the Lagos Business School, right, where we went into the market to see, you know, what really people were saying in terms of lending. And we discovered that people do not even have access or they don't even know what they should put in place to access credit facilities. So artificial intelligence can help, you know, looking at the data of those customers, of those people, right, to then make them accessible, right, make loans accessible to them, right, based on their records, financial records. So also something that cuts across almost every financial industry, or should I say players in the financial industry space, is the customer experience part, right? Everybody has customers, right? So you want to ensure that you are serving your customers better. There's better customer experience. So, and one of the ways to do that is having a feel of what your customers are saying, right, in terms of sentiment analysis, right? So your customers go on social media to say things about you. What are you using that data for, right? So
social listening.
It's something like that, yes, right? So
what are the challenges to adopting artificial intelligence grand scale, wholesale now, in the Nigerian financial industry?
Cost.
Okay.
Actually, so because AI systems are trained on data, right? Something is feeding that training process, right? That's why you have the conversations around GPUs away from CPUs, right? Our systems use CPUs, but for the level of computing, the computing power that those systems need something called GPUs, right? So those things are very expensive to afford, right? So that's one of the major issues. Another issue I would say is the understanding level, right, the knowledge level, because people tend to have a viewpoint to what AI can do, so people tend to even run away. I was at an event at the University of Abuja last year, and after the program, the student walked up to me to say he's afraid of AI, right? And I said to him,
we'll get to that.
Okay.
So I know Nigeria just released its national AI policy,
yes,
a strategy, a roadmap for adopting AI for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Yes.
Have you looked at that document?
Yes, I have, and interestingly, I wrote a summary about it on my LinkedIn, even looking at other countries' national AI strategies. So yes.
So now, looking at that document, what regulations there excite you about how AI would be adopted and used in our own environment here in Nigeria?
All right, thank you. So I find it very interesting for the fact that even at the government level, there's conversations around AI. So as I said, I've reviewed even other countries' national AI strategies, and I was really impressed to see a country like Mauritius had an AI strategy since 2018. I was really, really impressed to see that, right? So we are rising up to the occasion in Africa, and I love that so much. So some of the things that interest me is in terms of responsible data collection and management. So there's a huge provision of that in the National AI Strategy draft that was released by the National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, together with the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, and the Federal Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, right? So they mentioned specifically about responsible data collection and management. So you cannot just gather data because you want to gather data, right? There are certain things you have to put in place, certain measures you have to have. Also, you have to align individual rights to NDPA provisions. That's the Nigerian Data Protection Act, right? That was the first law that the current president signed into law when he came into office. So it's a huge thing for the actualization of AI strategies or AI prowess rather. Another one is AI governance, and this is a brewing topic in the AI space for us that are in this space, right? We've always known about data governance. People have talked about data governance, data privacy, and the likes, although they are not synonymous. However, AI governance, the transparency of it, the trust of it, ethical AI implementation, inclusivity, right, are all addressed in that document, and I find them very interesting, and I can't wait to see the final document.
That's good to know. So we've talked about what AI is, we've talked about the opportunities, we've talked about the challenges.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the risks. What are the risks associated with adopting artificial intelligence? Because mind you, it's data, it's, hackers and fraudulent elements could manipulate artificial intelligence to gain access to employees' data, customers' data, and even, run prompts or run commands to bring down a system, both maybe at the business level, at the national level. What are your thoughts around the risks, and how do you think these things are being provided for in a national AI policy?
Okay, so it starts with the security, and it's one of the provisions that the artificial intelligence draft mentions, right? There's a key aspect of that document that speaks to security, right? Because at the end of the day, whatever you build for good, people can want to access it for other means. So security is a big thing that they've discussed, right? Security, data privacy, data security, having information security around your cyber security as well, around your processes. So that was addressed. Then organizations also have their role to play.
Absolutely.
Right? If the data, the government does not own the data of the private organizations, right? They own their customers' data. In fact, a financial institution A can have different data from financial institution B on the same customer based on what they've requested from that customer, right? So security is a huge thing that they discuss. Also, like I said, another issue that could cause risks, right, is the issue of data quality. And it's a global problem, but more pronounced probably in this part of our world, where like I said, artificial intelligence systems are trained from data, right? So if the data quality is bad, the AI system too will be bad. So that's why you now have cases like bias, right? So we say something in the data science world is garbage in, garbage out. So whatever data is used to train the AI system is also what the results would be. So data quality is also a big issue.
Earlier on the show, we discussed the trend of cyber attacks on the financial industry, even giving numbers, seeing that between Q1 and Q2, there was a massive jump in successful attacks. What kind of security measures should financial organizations be putting in place, leveraging artificial intelligence to beat these criminal elements to their game? Because the threat landscape is always evolving. So as the banks are trying to adopt AI, these fraudsters are also trying to beat the system. So how robust should a financial organization's security be to assure the customers that their funds are safe in today's world?
Okay. I would say it's something I think banks even do. Probably they need to, beef up more, or even every financial institution, and it's something around real-time monitoring, right? So when you are always monitoring every accesses of your process flow, right? You're able to immediately identify what foreign threats can be, right? Also, in terms of AI, right, you can use because threats are also data, right? Threats is also, if it has happened over time, right, you can gather the data and feed it to an AI system to even give you some predictions about what are the other loopholes to look out for, right? So you can start to use those systems or you can start to put measures to curtail those loopholes. So I would say, again, real-time monitoring, and another popular one is the fraud detection. Mechanisms that financial institutions have, right? So again, it starts from data, right? You fed a system to say, if you see transactions like this, flag it. It's so, for example, I've been doing a particular amount, say 5,000 naira for the past 3 years. All of a sudden, there's a transaction of like 20 million naira going through my account. That's a red flag, right? So an AI system can see that and flag such an account.
So let me chip in here. This is considering that this is coming from the customer or this is regular transaction. What about those who have been charged with the responsibility to oversee security in these financial organizations who are now who've gone rogue and tried to beat the system? Because if you notice from the trend, it was only 5% from the outside. The rest was from the inside. So imagine someone who's been trained to use artificial intelligence to stop crime, who's now perpetrating that same crime in the organization. How can AI help us stop this? or reduce it at least to the barest minimum?
Okay, I think that's a human in the loop kind of problem where it's the human perpetrating such systems. So how I can think of AI coming to help is if you have an audit system that can start to monitor what the behavior of the former corporates have been, right? You can now start to use that to find people that are already towing that line. You know, it's a way to go about it. But in terms of this issue, right, it's a human problem, right? So, and human measures for human problems, I would say. So organizations to start to, you know, put measures in place to ensure they can track some of these things on time, and so that they don't continue to lose all these very, very enormous amounts a year.
Philip, I have to let you go, but before you go, I just have one more question for you, and that question is, what does the future look like? What are you excited the most about artificial intelligence and Nigeria?
All right, so for me, personally, I think artificial intelligence would really change a lot of things in the coming years, right? Especially even with the national AI strategy being worked on, the draft has been released. And I do know that one thing for us as users or as customers, everywhere we go to is we want to enjoy personalized experiences, right? I want to enjoy an experience that is suited only for me, right? That is suited to my behavior, the things I like to do, right? So I can say on good authority that personalized experiences will change in the coming years. And also there will be more participation from private organizations, especially with the backing of the government as we have it today, or as we are going to start to have it, right? So yes, I would say the future looks bright in terms of artificial intelligence.
Philip Akombi, thank you very much for joining us on Tech Hub today. Such a delightful conversation. I'm looking forward to having you back again. As much as we still have a long way to go, the AI transformation in Nigeria's financial industry so far has been very impressive, I must say. And looking at the conversation we just had, we're looking forward to more expansion, more adoption, and most importantly, we're looking forward to improved fraud detection in delivering personalized offerings and automating processes for us as a people. That's the bit we can take on the show today. Join us same time next week on Tech Hub. Follow us on social media to continue the conversation. And remember, technology is a force for positive change. Until next time, I am Kenneth Akan.